Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
This just came out. WikiLeaks. I love WikiLeaks. And I said, write a couple of them down. Let's see. During a speech, crooked Hillary Clinton. Oh, she's crooked, folks. She's crooked as a $3 bill. Okay, here's one. Just came out. Lock her up is right. No.
Oh, Jesus effing Christ! Mother Mary! Christopher Columbus! Oh my God. Do you see now why you have to be 35 years old to be the president of the United States? We don't want a child in there. We have a 6-year-old boy, got a new toy. It's called the intelligence agencies. Oh, you know, and the crazy thing is what he did is true. I said this yesterday. The story broke at what, like 5:01, and we had it for you around 5:30. Printed out and ready to go, and we started reading it to you, and it was very clear that, you know, that I told you the president can declassify anything, so no law was broken. That's a problem. Let's make whatever he does illegal. Everything he does is problematic. Everything he does. I mean, at this point, everything that Donald Trump does should be illegal. My God, he put us all in danger. And you know, it was just reported, well, I don't know how many people understand the story. You get the story, right? That, okay, you want to go through the timeline of what he did in our last what the F week? Last week was an what the F. Every day was like, oh my God. If you were trying to write a thriller, you know, like if they put this on House of Cards, you would say, oh, that's just too fantastical. I mean, remember when the congressman who became the president, you know, threw the journalist in front of the train? Everybody went, oh God, you can't kill journalists. You know, apparently you can. So you would never believe this. I mean, you couldn't sell this to Hollywood. You couldn't make this into a movie. You couldn't do this unless it was a comedy or some such thing. You know what I mean? About having a 6-year-old president or a president that looks 70, but he really has the intellect of a 5-year-old or what. I mean, and they would say, oh, well, it has to be a comedy because, you know, otherwise we can't make this fly. But I mean, you don't even ask how the president's going to deal with this stuff anymore, do you? No. You know what you ask yourself? How's he going to tweet it? What's he going to tweet? He sends every one of his people out last night to deny that he gave classified information to the Russians in a meeting in the office where the American press was barred from entry, but Kislyak and Lavrov were invited in. Oh, and check this out. Okay, that happened the day after he fired James Comey for doing an investigation into his ties to Russia. You can't even, I swear to God, the best spy writers couldn't even, you know, make this fly in Hollywood. They just couldn't. But okay, so we had this WTF week last week where it started on Monday. We had Sally Yates, who, by the way, is going to be on CNN tonight with Anderson at 8 p.m. At 8 p.m. Let's all tune in, shall we? Thank you. Because I have a feeling that while she still can't say anything that's classified, she can say whether or not they had evidence that the president had broken any laws. Because remember, the White House said, oh, it was just a heads up. Sean Spicer, who has sold his soul to the devil, said, oh, you know, no, Sally Yates came and she told Don McGahn, the White House counsel, we're giving you a heads up. You know, Michael Flynn might have to do something or other to make himself right with the universe. You know, like maybe he needed to go to a spa at Canyon Ranch and do some Zen practice. You know, it was tight. He was wound too tight. Something. Nothing illegal, they said. Nothing illegal. Well, Sally Yates will be able to tell us whether or not that underlying conduct violated any U.S. laws. And I'll bet you anything the answer is, yeah, yes. So 8 o'clock tonight. All right. So this whole WTF thing starts last Monday. Sally Yates, testifies and says, oh yeah, on January 24th, Michael Flynn was interviewed by the FBI, and by the 26th, we had a report from the FBI that said there was underlying conduct that somehow, violated the law, and you really, really need to tell somebody at the White House that this man cannot be the national security advisor. And it's, there's something very, very troubling about him. So she does that. She goes to the White House on the 26th, and she speaks to Don McGahn, and we'll find out tonight, not exactly, but more or less what she told him, whether or not Michael Flynn violated the law. Okay, that's good. Then the next day is the 27th. That next day, she goes back to the White House at their request. She becomes their beck and call girl on all things Michael Flynn. So she goes back to them. And that night, Donald Trump invites James Comey for a private dinner to the White House to ask for his loyalty. And this had everything to do with Michael Flynn, because they didn't fire Michael Flynn for 18 more days. They tried and tried and tried to figure out a way to keep this quiet. They tried and tried to figure out a way that this would never, ever be prosecuted, that this would never be part of the Russia investigation. In fact, the whole Russia investigation stuff, the president said, yeah, I was thinking about the Russia thing, and it's all a hoax, so I fired Comey. But not before he asked whether he would be a loyal soldier at this dinner, which, by the way, Trump tells you Comey asked for. Comey asked for the dinner because Comey wanted to beg and grovel for his job. So the president tells you, idiot boy, child, man, tells you. So I ask him, as he's begging for his job, you going to be loyal to me or what? And Comey says, I'll be honest with you. And he said, well, can I have honest loyalty like a kid in the freaking playground? 18 days go by. He doesn't fire Flynn. Okay. So after the Comey dinner and after Sally Yates' testimony, the president then fires James Comey, who's only in year 4 of a 10-year term. And the reason why we have 10-year terms for FBI directors is because they're supposed to be apolitical. They don't serve the president, okay? They don't. They serve the Constitution. They serve the law. Okay. Trump sends everybody out to misrepresent why he was fired. He allows everyone else in the administration, including Pence, who we're going to talk about today because, we all know the president is crazy, right? We all get it. And, it's like the madness of King George. Do you know what I mean? Like, he would probably get away with whatever it is he's charged with by claiming insanity. And the court will say, yeah, that's kind of it. We saw it. We feel you. You have an insane client. But what's Pence's excuse for being a little bobblehead? So Trump sends Pence out and everybody out to grossly misinform Congress and the public. And he gives the impression that he was acting on Rod Rosenstein's, recommendation. And Spicer goes out there and Spicer says, yeah. It was Rod Rosenstein. This is Spicer's quote. He was asked, was Comey fired for mishandling the investigations of Hillary's emails, as Rod Rosenstein summarized in that Justice Department letter? And spokesperson Sean Spicer said, referring to Rod Rosenstein, quote, it was all him. It was Rod's fault. Then Idiot Boy on Thursday does a sit down with Lester Holt where he says, no, it was this Russia thing. It's fake news, It's all a hoax, And so I fired him thinking about this Russia thing, making a liar of everybody that works for him. And that's when he volunteers that he had this dinner with Comey and that Comey was begging for his job. And the president suborns obstruction of justice by asking James Comey, am I under investigation? In the president's mind, this all happened while James Comey was asking to keep his job. So that's suborning obstruction, or that's getting, somebody to say that they will, commit obstruction of justice. Okay. So we had all that happen, right? And then by Friday, he sits down with Jeanine Pirro, who's the friendliest of the friendlies. And even she's saying, listen, you said you didn't do anything. Why don't you just get a special prosecutor? Okay, thus ended our WTF week. Yesterday was Monday, and I tread cautiously and carefully, and I told you, got rest over the weekend, had a nice Mother's Day with Loretta, posted a nice video of Loretta and me having some, fun with the idea of laying on gurneys together and getting plastic surgery. I wanted to see how she would look with a facelift, right? First, I gave her a lot of pot, and then she started experimenting with her face, and it was really fun. And then Monday, yesterday, I come back to work, and by 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the whole freaking week becomes what the F week number 2, because now we freaking find out that President Trump was... Okay, I left out something from the week. The Wednesday, okay, after Yates and then firing Comey on the Thursday, the president, May 10th, has Sergei Kislyak and Lavrov, their version of the Secretary of State. Kislyak is a spy recruiter here inside the United States who has shown up in every one of these Russia stories, every one of them. From the Republican National Convention to the guy that Mike Flynn was talking to about sanctions on the phone, to Mike Pence, to the reason why Sessions has to recuse himself. He's talking to Kislyak. And we all know that Kislyak is under surveillance by our intelligence communities because Kislyak is viewed by our intelligence communities as being a spy, a recruiter of spies for Russia against the United States and her allies. Now the president invites them into and everybody is saying to him, are you sure after firing Comey the very next day you want to have he's investigating Russia, for God's sake. And now you're inviting the Russians into the Oval Office? Okay, this story gets even weirder in that when this happens, President Trump, I know, it gives me chills. President Trump bans the American media from coming into the Oval, but invites the Russian press, the Russian news agency TASS, and now we find out some guy who was brought into the Oval Office posing as Sergei Lavrov's personal photographer. And the intelligence community today is now speaking out, and they're saying, we warned him not to do this because this guy hadn't been vetted. We don't know who this freaking photographer is, this photographer. And he could have dropped a listening device. He could have dropped a little tiny itty bitty video device. God only knows who this man is and why he was brought in. And he had, his camera case, with all the pockets in it. Anybody that uses, like a professional Ikegami camera, and you have those, the big blue pack. And in that blue pack, there's it's kind of like a very utilitarian duffel bag that the camera goes in. And there's all these cases inside, and outside too for lenses and for lavalier mics, lipstick mics, all this stuff. It's all in that case. Who the hell knows what this man brought into the Oval Office? Well, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. You want a listening device to tell you every one of America's secrets? Just ask Trump. He'll tell you. Because that is what he did at this meeting. He divulged code word protected intelligence that we got from an ally of the United States who allies with us in our fight against terrorism, allies with us in our fight against ISIS. And it turns out today that ally, which nobody wanted to name because up until then it was probably a guy or 2 or 3 operatives from that country who were in some city in Syria, which the president told the Russians, delivering classified, top secret, uber important information about ISIS and their plots with regard to airline safety. And I doubt it was that you could use your cushion as a flotation device. More having to do with that they were able to miniaturize bombs and stick them in the batteries of, and make the computer turn on. And now we find out that this country's operative, who's pretty much a dead man or woman today, was from Israel. Now the president has to go to Israel. Israel is going to squeeze this president until we fly the Israeli flag.
Clear for takeoff.
takeoff. Randy Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandyRhodes.com.
Go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.